I hope you can see my screen and I'm audible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
You are. Go ahead.
my topic is digital healthcare and artificial intelligence in a geriatric endocrine patient. So I would just like to start with this uh, talk by introducing you to drones. So this is a drone which was used to deliver blood in Rwanda, Africa in emergency. So what would have taken 6 hours took just 15 minutes. So why am I talking about this in endocrinology is this was presented in Endocrine Society in 2020, where in Ireland, due to repeated natural disasters, they were unable to provide medicines in the remote areas. So they have conceptualized this and delivered insulin and glucagon 40 kilometers away in a remote island in Ireland. And they have also gotten back a HbA1c sample safely. So I found an article from last year's Forbes India, which said that government of Maharashtra has actually tied up with the Zipline in California, which is a drone delivering company, and they would be setting up a distribution center in Pune and then started this operation to deliver medicines through these drones, which are automated. And even PM Modi is introducing National Digital Health Mission on this Independence Day. And I would just like to say that there would be many technologies that we will be discussing that may not have they might be either out of reach for the common man, or they might be expensive, or they may not be available in India right now. But we're definitely growing fast, and these things, they will come in picture in these recent times. So the National Digital Health Mission initially will collect all these data, the health data or the big data. And briefly to touch upon what is artificial intelligence, it is basically we are telling the machine to have an intelligence like a human, meaning apart from the perception logic, the ability to learn on its own, to self introspect, for self awareness. So in that we use two terms, one is machine learning and one is deep learning. So machine learning is basically algorithms that there are some data and it will make the decisions, and then as it starts working, it will also learn from its own data. And deep learning is something which is inspired by the human neurons. Like we have neurons and the synapses. So they have made many layered artificial neural networks. So even more complex patterns it can recognize, and more predictions are possible with the help. And so there is something called as supervised learning. It's something like we are providing a set of data and we are telling it to process it in a certain way to make certain predictions like pre-diabetes, GDM. So that is called supervised learning. When we put all these data and the machine itself is recognizing the patterns and making an algorithm, that is unsupervised learning. A combination of both is semi-supervised learning. Then there is something called as reinforcement learning. So this is something which would be used in a closed loop insulin pump. Suppose the machine decides that 4 units of insulin is to be given, and pre-meal sugar is 100 and post-meal comes out to be 140. So now the system knows that when you give 4 unit, this much sugar increases. So it will learn. Similarly, if it is low or if it is high, it will correct itself in future. So that is reinforcement or reward type of learning. So what we are doing basically is that there is some data, we are acquiring the data. This data is being processed. Some algorithm is being applied to it. Like our lab tests are validated. Similarly, this is validated. And then it comes for the real world application. There are various applications for this. First is like the medical records. Even the collection and storage of medical records can help us. Then with all this data, we can predict diseases, diagnose diseases. And this is also used for drug development and new drug discoveries. Nowadays, the pharmaceutical companies are tying up with the IT companies. And because this is helping us in drug development, plus preemptive or personalized medicine. So coming on to geriatric endocrinology. So what are the issues that we face? First is obviously the social issue. or the dependency of the geriatric patient to even visit a doctor. There is reduced mobility. There may be difficulty in diagnosing diseases because of the atypical presentation. Then there is altered physiology, multiple comorbidities, polypharmacy. There might be cognitive impairment, which may affect the compliance. And we know in diabetes, they may be more prone to hypoglycemia. They have different targets than the younger population. Different drugs may be used for them. So we are striving to achieve geriatric competency through this technology. So we'll talk about some apps and how to deal with issues and some specific diseases like diabetes and osteoporosis. So now there are many smartphone apps which are actually just directed to the geriatric population. WHO on the International Elderly Day on 1st of October last year, it has launched this application called iCope. So this is basically meant for primary healthcare workers and all the issues that we actually discussed yesterday, like malnutrition, limited mobility, cognitive decline, etc. So it has a screening. So and then there is an assessment of these things that the primary healthcare worker itself can do, and also give a personalized care plan. So this app can be downloaded on the phone itself. It's available. And IIT Kharagpur students have also made a app for geriatrics, although I could not find it on the Android or the Apple store. But I found this article that last year they have entered a competition, and this app can actually detect faults. It can send a notification to the caregiver and emergency services. It has a chat bot which is intelligent and the elderly can chat with it. It can even record a mood index through the photograph of the elderly. Then the social issues, the issue of going to a doctor, nowadays we have learned that it can be solved with telemedicine, video consultation. So again, that is something to be considered for the elderly. There are even apps available, not just the plain Google search, but apps with algorithms which can make a diagnosis or help in making a diagnosis or tell them that they need to go out. And then there are some remote monitoring sensors, remote or so sensors could be like we have those watches, Fitbit, even they have developed a shirt. So there are different sensors which are which can detect heart rate, even pulse oximeter, I mean the oxygen saturation. Then there are accelerometers and gyroscope. They can detect the motion. So apart from this, these are active sensors which we are wearing. There is something called as passive sensors. So these can be put inside a home, and then they can detect any motion. So they work with help of Bluetooth technology or Wi-Fi, and these are a part of smart home. We'll come to that later. And since we are talking about geriatric population, so there may be problem with dexterity or handling their smartphones. So comes the role of voice assistant. So they don't actually have to do anything. They can just ask Alexa or Siri and they can do the job. And the smart homes that we're talking about, which are connected with Wi-Fi, they can switch on the lights, the fan, and so on. And apart from that, there have been virtual companions or AI pets that are in development. So one of the first that I could find was Paro, which was a seal, and it has actually been found to reduce stress. And these pets that they're making nowadays, cats and dogs, they can give medicine reminders, they can sense motion, they might be helpful in as we are going towards nuclear family scenarios and elderly are home alone. So these can be useful. There can be digital clinics set up. So data is collected, all these sensors, including glucometers, this data can be collected. Then the machine itself can analyze the data and actually make decisions. And then this data can be reviewed by the physician or the healthcare workers, and an individualized care plan can be given. Apart from that, we have problem with polypharmacy. So Stanford University made this software called Decagon. So this will study different drug-to-drug interactions. So we have fed some 19,000 different proteins, how they interact in the body, millions of drug associations, which we are aware of. And then it keeps on growing as you put more data, and the prediction becomes better. Coming to diabetes. So we are aware of continuous glucose monitoring systems that are available real time or flash. So for elderly, it may be better that when the information is conveyed directly to their phones instead of any receiver. So we know that there are different kinds: Abbott, Freestyle, Dexcom. So even the Freestyle Libre 2, which has been introduced in US. So this works with the Bluetooth technology and can directly send the message and alerts. It can, instead of having a sensor, it can directly send your hypoglycemia alerts to the phone. Apart from that, again, we don't have the Medtronic Guardian Connect system right now, but this CGM comes with the app, the Medtronic Guardian app. So Medtronic has tied with IBM Watson, which is the supercomputer, and it can predict your hypoglycemia up to 60 minutes. Along with that, there is another app called Sugar IQ, in which you can give, in which you put every day what you're eating, and it's basically recognizing the pattern every day of what you're eating, what your daily activities are, and up to 4 hours before you have an hypoglycemic attack, it can detect it. So this might be useful. Since we know that there is a problem with dexterity, and also insulin pump may not be a good idea, but closed loop insulin pump might be good for type 1 diabetic elderly patients, and a study is also being going on for studying this. Then the detection of diabetic retinopathy. So there is this image sensing software. So what happens is that we are feeding thousands of images of a certain thing. We are telling the machine that this is this and this is this. Like if in case of diabetic retinopathy, we are giving it fundus images. We are telling it this is mild, this is moderate, this is severe DR. And after giving thousands of images, now it learns on itself that how to detect these different grades of retinopathy. So one study was done at Mohan's Institute, and they attached a special camera to the smartphone itself, which could take images of the retina. And this has shown 95% sensitivity to detect any level of severity. Other uses could be when it has so much data, it can be used to predict. So what, like in this study, NANE's data was used, and they can now, they have found out new predictors for pre-diabetes. They can make algorithms and detect pre-diabetes. Similarly, it has been used for detecting progression of DKD. Then even pathologists have used this that imaging technology, and they have come up with classification of diabetic glomerulosclerosis with the same imaging sensing ability. Coming to osteoporosis, so we have three parts. So first is case detection, since many of the cases just go away even without detection from our orthopedic colleague. So what can we do to
sorry to interrupt, Dr. Chandani. You will have another a minute or two, so you might need to speed up a bit.
Okay. So detection of osteoporosis is something called as natural language processing, where this computer can recognize human language. And this software found 300 cases opposed to 90 cases which were found with manual method. Similarly, opportunistic CT has recognized vertebral fractures and can predict osteoporosis. So other thing is fall detection, like the sensors that we were talking about. So since these can detect motion, so this can sense when the fall is happening, and it can also sense that if there is a long period of inactivity. Another important thing is fall prediction. So when a person is going to fall, the heart rate will increase, some foot pressure will change. So all these different sensors can detect that and tell you that fall is possible. So this is something called as a magic carpet, where the sensing of the foot pressure could happen. Another thing we discussed yesterday was about the frailty, and only that exercise can help in that. So even in exercise, the robo-assisted exercise has been found to be better than the manual or the traditional method. This was basically used for post-stroke patients, but it has been used for frail older patients as well. And in thyroid, we have, again, I was talking about the ability for prediction. So when we put a number of data about the TSH levels and various other things like T4, TPO, so it can learn to predict what is the individual TSH level. So the issue of different targets and subclinical hypothyroidism can be solved. And lastly, nodules. Again, we can use the same imaging criteria, put the images of the different nodules, and it can predict. And even the molecular testing, the GEC, Afirma, all this is using artificial intelligence. And lastly, when we relate to surgery, we know that there is robotic surgery available for adrenal, thyroid, and now even parathyroid, although that is a newer thing. And lastly, the surgery, whatever surgery is happening, it can predict whether remission will happen or not by reading the different parameters. So that has been used in acromegaly. So I'll just end my talk with this if there is no time.
Thank you.
There are a lot of ethical issues with the use as we grow used to this newer technologies. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that excellent summary. I know that time provided is little small, but nevertheless, we'll have to do with what we can. Are there any questions from the audience? If not, then basically, I would like to ask you that currently we are all holding digital consultations, and all that you showed is still a little away from Indian patients. Of course, it is a matter of time. I personally think that in our trainings also, as endocrinologists or as doctors essentially, we hardly ever learn about technology in medicine. Our entire focus is on medicine and
Can't hear you.
somebody has muted me. Okay. So I think there is a time in which technology also needs to be learned. And as part of this, Pramod, Manoj, Shashank,